information. So in this video, let's cover the other part of syllabus. So I think let's see the syllabus. So I think we covered problem analysis and algorithm development and flowchart in previous videos. So today I'll be covering compilation and execution in this video, and later we'll cover 2.4 and 2.5. Okay, so let's see 2.3, that is compilation and execution. So before studying this compilation and execution, we have to know about what is compiler interpreter. Okay, so the topic is 2.3, that is compilation and execution. Okay, so before going to this topic, we have to know about two topics, that is compiler and interpreter. Okay, so both compiler and interpreter, they are known as translators, or we can say they are known as translators. These translators are nothing but software which is used to translate. So what it does, it translates both of them. They translates high level language to low level language. Okay, so what is high level, what is low level, we studied in previous videos. So high level language are those languages which human understands, that is the program that we write in English or in other codes. And low level language are those languages which the machine understands, that is in the form of zeros and one, in the form of bits. Okay, so any program you do or any program you write, that has to be converted to low level for execution. Okay, for example, if you are writing, this is your source code, that is you are writing the program. Source code means your program. Then writing a program, so it goes to the machine or processor. So the processor will not understand this English language. So before going to processor, it has to be translated to the machine language, and that goes to the processor, and when it gives back, so it is again translated into source code or high level, and then we see the it displays the output. Okay, so this is the way it goes on. So what is the difference? So both of them are translator, both of them translates high level to low level. So what is the difference? So let's see that, what is the difference. So let me rub this portion. This is one of the very important question. Okay, so this question generally they ask for 4 marks. Okay, so this question they ask for 4 marks. This is very important question, so prepare this well. So compiler and interpreter we have. So compiler, what it does, it suppose you have written some 5 lines of code. Okay, so what compiler does is it compiles or it translates this high level code into machine level at once. Okay, at once means in single time whole code is translated. So what it does, it sees all the code line by line, but it translates it to machine level or machine code at once. The translation is done in a single run. Okay, so at last when we execute, so it gives a lots of error. So there is error like this. Okay, what happens in interpreter? Suppose you have 5 lines of code, so it translates first line first, and then it gives the error if there is any error. Again after this it translates the second line, so it gives the error in that, for that line only if there is error. Similarly third line, so it translation is done line by line. Okay, so programming language like C, C++, they all follows this compiler, or the compiler is used to compile for the languages like C, C++, whereas in programming languages like Python, PHP, we use interpreter. Fine, so this is very important, so we'll discuss the difference very soon. Okay, so there is one more translator is there, which is known as assembler. Okay, so what it does is it translates assembly level language into low level. Okay, so I think in second generation we studied they are assembly level language, so that also it should be converted to machine level, and that is done with the help of assembler. Okay, so that's all for compiler and interpreter. So let's go to the compilation process. So I'll take that from the note that I have prepared. So let's go to our note. Okay, so you can see here it is the compilation process. Okay, so what happens in compilation process? We have compiler. Okay, so we give source code to this compiler, and this compiler converts this source code into object file. Okay, so this object file are not the final machine level code. Okay, they are the intermediate code, object file. This object file is further linked with runtime library. Okay, so these are the library that we have attached with our code. If you have used any library in your code, so that is linked with this object file using linker, and finally this linker will produce executable program. Okay, so this is our final machine code. So executable program, they are nothing but combination of object file and runtime library. Fine. So this is very important question. For 6 marks they can ask from this chapter, VVI question. So it comes in exams, so draw this diagram. First there is compiler, then we give the source code which is converted into object file, and it is linked with runtime library to produce a executable program. So let's see the steps. The process of translation from high level language to low level language is called compilation. Okay, so this is the definition. Converting high level to low level is known as compilation. So high level we call it source code, and low level we call it object code, but it is linked with runtime library, so we call that as executable program. The first step is to pass the source code through compiler, which translates the high level instruction into object code. The final step is producing an executable program is to pass the object code through a linker. The linker combines modules and gives real values to all symbolic addresses, thereby producing the machine code. Okay, so this is our final machine code. Compilation process ends producing an executable program. The compiler stores the object and executable files in secondary storage. Okay, so I hope you do what is secondary storage we discussed in previous videos. If there is any illegal instruction in the code, compiler lists all errors during the compilation. Okay, so during this process only we'll get all the errors, whatever error or whatever mistakes we have done. So it gives all the errors here. Okay, so in this note, as you can see, we have a definition of compiler as well as interpreter. So please go through this. Okay, so assembler, it is definition of assembler also. Okay, so this is again one of the most important questions. The link of this note I will be providing in description box, so don't worry about the note portion. So you can see the difference between compiler and interpreter. Okay, so let's go one by one. So what is compiler? Compiler takes the entire program as input. As I told you, it takes entire program, but interpreter takes single instruction as input, that is one by one. Intermediate object code is generated. In compiler, as we see in the figure, intermediate object code is generated, but here no intermediate object code is generated. It takes less execution time, yeah, because overall code is analyzed at once, but it takes more execution time. Since object code is generated, more memory is required, but here memory requirement is less. Program need not to be compiled every time. Every time higher level program is converted to lower level program. So once we compile this program, that's all. Now we can run that program. Error are displayed after entire program is checked. Yeah, I told you. After all the programs are checked, then only we can display the error. Here, for every instruction interpreted, we can display the error. For example, C compiler, it is used for basic. Now going to the difference between compiler and assembler. So it generates the assembly level code or directly the executable code, but here it generates the relocatable machine level code, that is the assembly level language. Okay, so here that is the machine code. Here the input is source code, here the input is assembly level code. The compilation phases are lexical analyzer, syntax analyzer, semantic analyzer, intermediate code generator and code optimization, whereas assembler makes 2 passes over the given input. It means that the steps are very less here. Here we have almost 5 to 6 steps are there. The assembly code generated by compiler is mnemonics version of machine code. The relocatable machine code generated by an assembly is represented by binary code. Okay, so here if we convert this compiler, if this compiler generates assembly level code, so that is the mnemonic version. That is, mnemonic means, suppose if you write addition, so its mnemonic will be add. Okay, but here we generate directly the relocatable machine code is generated directly. Okay, so generally this question is asked, difference between compiler and interpreter. Sometimes they can ask what is assembler or what is what is assembler, they can ask. Fine. So I think we covered this portion. Compilation, execution, compiler, interpreter and assembler and difference between them. So hope you understood this. Thank you for watching this, and the link of this note I will provide in description box, so you can download notes from there. So in next video we'll cover debugging and testing and programming documentation altogether, and then we'll finish chapter 2. Till then, stay safe and